are live here. There's a little ticker going that we're live. So hi, everybody. I am talking to you from my hotel room in Clearwater, Florida. I did a little live stream with Tony about an hour or two ago anyway. So I'm not going to show you my messy bed back there. But I am here. I cannot tell in... This is the first time I've ever gone live on YouTube like this, so I'm not sure how to use all the controls and everything, so I'm just going to keep talking and hope I don't mess it up as it's going. I had a few thoughts about Scientology here that I thought I'd share. Just from being here, you know, there's a difference between seeing something from a distance and having, and not a bad difference, just a difference between seeing something from a distance and being in it and getting up close and personal with it, you know, even for just a short period of time. My trip here last night and crashed right away. The entire was basically a travel day. Thank you, Southwest. Anyway, I'm not going to linger about that stuff. So what I am going to talk about is, real quickly, this isn't going to be a super long video, but okay, good. There's a couple of comments coming in. Too loud competing voices. Okay, I'm just here by myself, so I'm not sure what that comment is in reference to. But anyway, I'm just going to carry on here. But I'm glad to see some folks are coming on and we're live here. Okay, good. So it's confirmed I'm actually talking to somebody. So I wanted to talk a little bit about creeping fascism. There's a topic that I know everybody loves for me to talk about, so I'm not going to belabor any modern analogies other than to go over a couple of things. I made some notes here. I'm just going to go over real fast. And then Scientology landed here in Clearwater, Florida in 1975. It was 50 years ago. They have been in this town buying up property and operating their international global headquarters here in Clearwater for 50 years. And I talked to, of course, my Uber drivers. I've mentioned it to every one of them. I've had a few trips around so far. And brought up very neutrally just to see where things were at, what people thought, right, from the locals. I thought worth sharing. 50 years is a settled time. Scientology isn't going anywhere. Yeah, I'm getting some bad connections here, so I'm going to try to move along and hurry this up. Sorry if this is breaking up, if there's an issue on the stream. Okay, I'm just going to try to make my points here. So 50 years they've been here in this town and they are established. No one in Clearwater thinks these guys are going anywhere, but they tend to ignore them, which tells me that they're not fighting them. There's not conflict. There's not open hostility. There is just acceptance that they're here, and they're not going anywhere. And so people just accept them as part of the environment, part of the atmosphere, part of the scenery, right? But they don't think to themselves, "Oh, we're going to get rid of Scientology here, or somehow we're going to take some to, get in there." Now, Mel. Anyway, they're not good for tourism, but somebody told me, one of these guys told me that they were great for the downtown aesthetic. He didn't put it that way, but basically that was the idea, was that Scientology has improved the look and feel of downtown so much that his initial thoughts on it was that he was happy that they were here. At least that's what he initially was telling me. He also said to me, though, that he picks up a lot of Scientologists who come to town to go to the Scientology facilities, including many, many international people from Russia. Mentioned that a couple times. So that was interesting because it's, of course, consistent with what we know about where Scientologists are mainly coming from. They certainly are not recruiting them here from Clearwater. There is no recruitment going on here, or even any effort to. I was thinking about how Scientology here, a tourist town of Clearwater, about 300,000 residents, I guess. And when tourism season hits, up to, a third to a half of this town grows and becomes, oh, thank you for that super chat, becomes tourists, right? The population grows enormously during tourist season. A lot like Hawaii, like Honolulu, which is another place I've been a couple times in my Scientology Sea Org career. I went out to Hawaii a couple times for missions and stuff. Sorry for the motion. I hope I'm not going to get too much motion sickness here. I moved around a little bit to try to get a better signal. So now I'm standing. But it's not comparable to Hawaii because Scientology here in Clearwater is not a class 5 proselytizing, disseminating church. Like in Hawaii, they are. They're trying to get new members, recruit people right off the street. And since from the 1970s, they've been Honolulu, or the Hawaii Church of Scientology has been operating. And they used to throw people in vans from the beach and drive them a mile or 2 or 3 to the org. They would be body routing from the beach. Nobody does anything like that here. Nobody's even trying to do anything like that here. So it's not the same kind of vibe from Scientology in terms of they don't come up and try to recruit you. And I think that's why the locals here have a more hands-off, they're over there doing their thing and we're over here doing our thing kind of attitude. These are all just thoughts I'm having, right? I'm not saying this is absolutely the way that it is, but just impressions I'm getting from being here that you can't get just from reading about or interviewing people, and so that's why I wanted to share some of this. The locals kind of basically accept them and ignore them. They are all bothered by the fact that Scientology owns so much property in downtown, and they all said, unprompted, that they were not happy with the fact that Scientology wasn't doing anything with those properties. But at the same time, they would regale me with all their knowledge of Tom Cruise, and how great it is, that you could always tell when Tom Cruise is in town because his yacht, his ginormous Jeff Bezos-sized yacht, apparently appears in the bay. I don't know where he stores it otherwise, but when he's here in town, apparently he's got this big yacht, and he cruises around in the bay, and you can see Tom Cruise around town. And he said that you could always tell when Tom was around because he's this short little guy surrounded by all these great big guys, bodyguards, right? Everywhere he goes, you can barely see Tom because he's surrounded by this entourage of people, and they're all taller than him. So I will absolutely size shame Tom Cruise all day long. It's the least I can do for what he dishes out to people. So anyway, those were some impressions on that. The other thing was the tourism here is obviously these are one of these things where it's kind of like Chris is finally catching up to. Oh wow. Tourism here is really, really a thing. And everyone was very adamant about the fact that Scientology was taking over downtown Clearwater, but they were not anywhere down on the beach. I guess there is some properties down on the beach, now that I kind of have the geography of that a little clear in my head. But they don't want Scientology anywhere near the beachfront tourist area. None of those hotels, restaurants, areas are Scientology owned, and they don't want them to be very, very, very loudly. And so I guess the idea with the locals is they rely on the city council, not so much to get rid of Scientology, because I think nobody here thinks that's possible. And they're probably right to one degree or another within our existing laws. So instead, they try to just ignore them and let the city council or the government or whatever deal with them and try to cross their fingers and hope that they don't keep making inroads into the community and taking things over. Again, nobody's happy about the downtown scene. But what I wanted to point out, what I wanted to talk about here in describing all of this scene is to say, now turn it over and look at all of this from Scientology's point of view. And my thinking on that is that David Miscavige and Tom Cruise and the other bigwig, heavy-hitting Scientology landowners, real estate investors, big name people, big money people who are in Scientology. I believe that they are taking the Clearwater project um, very seriously. I think that, but I think they're taking it very seriously from a long game. Long game. Clearwater is not something Scientology is not a place Scientology wants to be adversarial. You know, they don't want conflict here. I don't think they want the locals riled up. So they play the long game. They just chill. You're now 50 years. Where have we gotten to? We're here and we're not ever leaving, and everybody gets it. You know, we're here and we're never going away. This is slowly, almost generationally, becoming our town. You know, and we're just going to own Clearwater. And I think their attitude is what's the old term that we manifest destiny. I think that's the term to describe the attitude that Scientology has and David Miscavige takes towards Clearwater is its manifest destiny that they are going to own this town. And but it's going to take a little while, right? It's kind of a big place. There's a lot here. But they take property, or they've done this strategic planning to take over properties or buy up things and just sit on it, knowing that there's nothing anybody can do about it. And they don't care. They're not here to make friends or actually even influence people very much. I don't think they know how very well. So they just kind of have come to this uneasy peace where, you know, let's not rock the boat too much on either end and hopefully everything will be fine. You know, I think that's kind of how people think about Scientology. And I think that's how Scientology thinks about the local community as well. Everything's fine and they're not out there with pitchforks. So we're doing fine. You know, and as long as they can keep, they don't want public acceptance here. They don't want people happy with them. They just want to be left alone to do their thing. And their thing is taking this place over. So the Scientologists, I think, Miscavige's attitude is one of inevitability. That's it. We are inevitable. Bringing a little Thanos there, right? But that's kind of how I think they're approaching this whole takeover of this town. And they're basically, maybe this, I'm pretty sure this is not an original observation, but I'm just seeing it here live made me feel like I should, you know, throw it out there again, that they're just implacably moving forward, right? And they know with surety, Scientology does, that in another 50 years, they're going to have twice as much, or they're going to own the entire downtown. And they're just going to own it. It's just going to be theirs. It's going to be, as Tony was saying, and I think he's absolutely nailing it, it's going to be their Vatican. They're trying to turn Clearwater into their version of the Vatican, right? And if they could, and believe me, if Scientology could achieve their own countryhood with something like that, they would absolutely go for that. I think the reason we don't hear about conflict here is I think Scientology is very keen to be conflict averse here, right? Because they're trying to play that long game. And I think they know that the only way that they could blow it is if they, and obviously putting all this together with stuff I already know about this place. So those are some thoughts that I thought I would share today. You'll find out what I'm doing here later. I'm just here. So, oh, by the way, because I'm going live here today, and I went live with Tony earlier, I'm here all weekend. So Tony and I are not recording an After Scientology Straight Up and Vertical this week. So sorry, guys. I even have a whole little intro I created newly for the show. So you'll see that next week. Yeah, I know the connection is not great. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. But I wanted to throw some thoughts out. That's all. Just throwing some thoughts out here. And hope it was of interest. Okay. Thanks a lot for your ongoing support and viewership, guys. And I'm going to figure out how to wrap this up now. Okay. Stop. Yes.